Please hold while I transfer your call to
Brian Gusky. CFO, this is Brian. How can I help you?
Hi, Brian. Do you remember talking to me about a year or two ago? Zachary Knotts?
Yes.
Okay, and you sent me all the bills and stuff?
Yeah, the
Okay.
records and stuff. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Well, what is the extension to the forensic coordinators, or the forensic admissions?
Well, there's not really forensic admissions. I mean, all the admissions come through the admissions department. There's not a separate admissions for forensics. I mean, we have a forensics office and an admissions office.
Okay, well, what is the forensics extension? I'm trying to get them on recording, doing things, asking questions.
Yeah, let me see. Hold on. That's not one I call very often, so I don't know the bars.
And one thing I could ask you, since you're in the billing department, right now, judges are threatening my life, threatening me either go to WVU Medicine for a competency evaluation or go to jail, and judges are threatening my body with putting it into the torture facility for 15 days. If I show up there and I don't want any medical treatment, I don't need any medicine, I refuse everything, what is going to happen to me? Are they still going to be making $750 a day off my body from certified Medicaid services?
For here, yeah, because we just bill per diem per day. I mean, it doesn't matter what services. I mean, the services are all separate, but yeah, I mean, most of them are included in the per diem, but yeah, it's just a standard per diem per day. 443 is the forensics office for the forensic director.
443?
Yep.
Okay, so West Virginia, if they capture my body, would be raking in $750 a day off of it, even if I did not want to be there, refused to see any doctors, didn't sign any consent papers, didn't do anything.
Well, it depends. I mean, if you're here, it'd be considered involuntary. So, I mean, we don't take voluntary, but I mean, so if they would send you here involuntarily, you don't have to consent because it's involuntary.
And
now, I mean, you have to consent to treatment, but if you're being here,
what if you don't even go in and talk to the doctor? What's going to happen then?
I don't know. I mean, that's beyond my knowledge. I mean, I don't know if they have. I mean,
because
it depends on what. I mean, it depends on whether you have competency or whether they judge you have capacity or competency to make medical decisions, things like that.
Okay, here we're on a good subject here. Is there in the state of West Virginia a standardized testing for competency where every single person takes the exact same test? Like for welding, there's a test that everybody takes. For nursing exam, everybody takes the same thing?
I don't know. I mean, I know that if there has to be two independent evaluators, so it's not just up to one doctor, it's up to two different ones, but whether it's the exact same test they use, I don't know that answer.
See, right now, here we're running into a problem. You're thinking completely wrong. For one, there is no standardized testing. All it is a judge calls up a doctor and they check a box. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Right. Well, I mean, well, judges send people here. I mean, not always, but sometimes to determine competency, to determine if someone. How
can they determine competency when there's no test? Every certification.
Well, there is a test.
Where's it at? Where's it at? What kind of test are you imagining that is out there?
I just don't know if it's a standard test. Well, I think how it is there's several different accepted tests in the.
You're completely wrong.
In the community.
All that happened to me in 2010, spell world backwards, and I did it.
Right.
Are you going to sue the prosecutors? No. And then she says, tell me why you got in trouble. Tell me about it.
I mean, I know they use some kind of test.
There is no test. There is no test. There is no test.
Doctor, there's several different ones that they can pick from, and each evaluator uses different ones. I don't know.
You're completely deceived.
Two different ones,
I
though.
want to correct you. You can go do the research yourself if you do not believe me. I've got other people when they're recorded. There is no standardized testing. There is no such thing as a test for competency. When you're being a crane operator, there's tests you take when you're doing welding, when you're doing coal mining, when you're doing anything on earth. West Virginia is running a big fraud, racketeering business. what they're doing here is WVU Medicine is sentencing these people in there, and that's what I'm getting out to the public, because you're completely wrong thinking there is an actual test you take when there's nothing. It's just a doctor checking a box.
Right.
Not competent. There is no such thing. And that's what I'm getting out to the public, to show them how people like you are working there and thinking that everybody's treated the same and everybody actually takes a test when there's no such thing as a test. And you're telling the public... You're telling...
Well, I mean, where the test might be... I mean, I know that people come here and they actually talk to the patients and do an interview. I don't know whether there's standard questions, though, that they ask. I mean, that's what I don't know.
How do we know? How do we know? If there's not a recording to prove anything, how do we even know what these persecuting perpetrators, doctors, are doing? We don't know anything. There is no actual piece of paper the way it should be. For every test in the earth that you get certified at, there is an actual test you take. There is nothing standardized. There's no competency real evaluation. A doctor can't just go in there and ask questions and check a box. We don't know what the hell goes on behind these closed doors. But you're telling the public right now, if I was to be drug in by police, drug in by my feet, drug in by my hair, whatever, I did not want to be there or nothing, and West Virginia would automatically start making $750 a day off of enslaving my body. $750 a day. They would waste, the DHHR would pay $750 a day for me being there with these judges abusing my freedoms, abusing my rights, abusing everything of my body.
Yeah,
physically torturing me.
We bill sympathy a day. I mean, regardless of the treatment you're getting, but I mean,
treatment? You're not getting any treatment. If you don't want to be there, what treatment are you getting? What treatment do you imagine a person is getting when they're being held there for fraud purposes, enslaving humans for $750 a day from certified Medicaid services? Please tell me what treatment you think a person's really getting when they're being abused with drugs that they don't want, that they don't need, and they're being...
Well, you have to consent to any kind of drugs and stuff. I mean, it's a hospital. It's not like a prison.
Where? Okay, so since you think that, where is the consent that I gave WVU Medicine to sentence me for 3 years? Where is that consent at? There is no such thing. WVU Medicine had no consent, and they have no medical record to prove anything. That was, we already went through that a year or two ago when I first contacted you. So, but you've just made it clear to the audience, though, that they would be raking in $750 a day from certified Medicaid services, where these judges are threatening my life. Either go to WVU Medicine or go to jail, where judges...
Medicaid only pays $349 a day. That's all they pay. But yeah,
they should not be. Should they be paying for something where a person does?
And we don't get paid anything for patients that are forensic. I mean, that's just a total write-off for the state. Medicaid doesn't pay anything for forensic patients. For patients that are court ordered, by a judge.
Who pays for them being there? Who pays that $349? Hang on, hold up. $349 comes from the Washington D.C. level of things, correct?
Well, no, that's for civil patients, like probable cause patients, people that are sent here, because they're deemed to be a danger to themselves or others. If they're a forensic patient, then we get paid nothing.
Okay, so
paid nothing.
So who pays the $750 a day if they're a forensic patient? Who pays that? The taxpayers of the state of West Virginia?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And then West Virginia, you're saying, uses this as a tax write-off. Can you explain that to me?
Well, no. I mean, it's not a tax write-off. I mean, for us, it's just a loss. I mean, we write it off the bill. I mean, because the bill generates, but we don't get any payment from any insurance for it. So it's just because we're a state facility, it's just, I mean, it's not really billed to anybody. It's just a loss. It's not like a tax write-off. It's just a loss.
A loss of what?
It's
just a waste of money is what you're saying, right?
Basically, the taxpayers of West Virginia are basically, paying for people's to be here if you're a forensic patient. Nobody pays it. Like, no insurance company pays it. The federal government doesn't pay it. It's just basically you come here. It's basically a free stay here. Essentially, is what it comes out to, paid for by the state.
So
Yeah.
it's not free to anybody. The working people of the state of West Virginia that look at their checks every Friday or every other Friday and see a Medicaid
Right.
tax deduction,
Right.
they are paying.
Right, our budget comes from state legislature. So we get a budget just like the DNR does, and so our budget comes from the taxpayers of West Virginia, and that's what we use to operate.
Where does all the money go that the?
Any kind of funding for any kind of insurance for forensic patients.
Okay, so should taxpayers be paying to enslave their neighbors, enslaving their neighbors? Should senators and delegates of the state of West Virginia be stealing money from all the people that they allegedly represent and say they're doing good things for, but stealing their money to enslave and imprison their neighbors? Is that what should be going on? I mean, that's a pretty easy question. Should delegates and senators...
It's a good question, because if the people that are here need to be, they're here for treatment. So if they want...
What treatment are you getting? What treatment do people get there?
Kind of mental health treatment, or in jail, not treatment, or they'll be out homeless because of their mental illness. They can't make it on their own.
How would I be? I am homeless right now. I'm jobless right now because of what West Virginia did to me.
Well, I'm not saying just you. I'm saying just generally speaking. Some of the patients we have here, are in homeless shelters and stuff if they're not here. So because of their mental illness or whatever reason, they can't take care of themselves. So
that's just what you think.
That's a good question. I don't know. It's just...
The point is, nobody wants to be there that is there, so how do you think they're getting help? That's a big question. How do you feel anybody there is getting help when they are just there for fraud purposes? The state pays $750 a day for each person being there. Where does that $750 a day go that they steal from all the taxpayers to fund your fraud organization? Where does it go to after the money comes into your fraud facility? Where does it go to from there?
It goes to pay for food and utility bills here, and medical supplies, and all the medication, all the other treatment that people are getting while they're here. Therapeutic programming.
There is no therapy. It's pure abuse. Nobody there gets any benefits. What educational programs like welding, like construction, anything like that? Do you have anything like that there for a person to benefit on?
We do.
Where's the welding class at that you have? Where's the...
We don't have welding. We also can't have patients that have mental illnesses using, welding tools.
Well, I was diagnosed with all these fake things, and I was steering ships worth $1 billion.
Right.
And it's a fraud.
It's not a prison. It's not like where you're teaching skills for when you get out of prison. Or therapeutic programming is like anger management and things like of those natures.
So coloring pictures is really helping a person and worth $750 a day, because that's what I was forced to do: color pictures and paint pictures. Going from steering ships worth $1 billion to coloring pictures, and you claim that I was getting medical help, and others are the same way, getting medical treatment when they're forced to color pictures when they could be at home working, could be at home benefiting their lives. You're completely thinking wrong. How is anybody there benefiting when they're not gaining anything? What do you feel a person is actually gaining there by coloring pictures, not allowed to use computers to watch videos on YouTube or learn things? What do you really feel anybody is getting that's beneficial there? Forced on drugs. I'm going to ask you a question. Is 10 people tackling a person to a bed, handcuffing a person to a bed, and nurses running in, shoving needles into a person's body, is that really helping a person in your mind? Is that helping a person, yes or no? 10 people.
If psychotic break, then yeah, you have to get them so they're not...
Psychotic break? Do you not realize you are threatened at nighttime? Either take the medicine or we will call the support team where this happens. You cannot say no to drugs. Do you realize that goes on? Yes or no? Do you realize that happens? So you think me being forced to piss the bed for years in there, being tackled, handcuffed down to a bed, really helped my body? Is that what you're saying? Do you feel that helped me? Yes or no? where I was forced to lay in a bed of piss because I was being overdosed so bad on drugs, and I could not wake myself up. Well, it is happening. It is happening, and you're looking at all the money figures right there, and you are funding this because you pay taxes. Do you feel, now that you know this, that I am the only person there going through this? Do you feel that I am the only person that is not being tackled, handcuffed to beds, and needles shoved in their bodies? Do you feel that I'm the only one that goes through this, yes or no?
No.
Okay, should the taxpayers be... And is that giving anybody medical help? Is that giving a person lifelong damages or a lifelong benefit where your body's being abused that much? Damage or benefit? Where you're laying in a bed of your own urine because you're being so overdosed? What is that a benefit or is that a damaging effect on a human body? Which one?
Well, I don't believe people are being overdosed to a point where they're doing that.
You're wrong. You're speaking to one that was treated that way. You are speaking to one. So is that a benefit or is that damaging to a human body? Please tell me one of the two. Pick a benefit or a long-term damage.
I'm not going to pick. I'm not
Please, that's the last thing I'll ask you is which one? Do you feel it is a benefit or a damaging effect to a person's body? Which one?
Well, if that happens, it's because they believe someone is a danger to themselves at that time.
So I should be laying in a bed of piss? And that's really not a danger to my own health, is what you're saying. You're saying it's not a danger to my health. Are you really saying that...
No, I'm not saying that, but I don't believe... we do restraints, but that is a last resort, and I'm not heard of anybody being... you're not anymore. You're not allowed to medicate people to a point. You can't medically restrain people anymore. That's not allowed. There's laws in place.
America, wait, you're hearing this. He's saying this right now. Laws are in place, but all the victims' names that will be after this, you will hear them saying the same stories that they're seeing people being tackled, handcuffed to beds, and needles shoved in their bodies. And this man here is sitting up there making thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars a year, getting paid with your money that you're hearing, and doesn't even understand what goes on behind him, where the money's coming from that you're funding, you taxpayers viewing this. So do you really think, what should I do when a judge is threatening my life? Either go to WVU Medicine to be sentenced there, or go to jail. What should I do? What should I do?
That would be a legal question. You would have to ask a lawyer. I don't.
How about human rights question?
Or human rights question. That's all. I'm not versed in that area of the law that much. I know bits and pieces, but that's not my expertise.
But at least you've made it clear. At least you've made it clear where if a judge put an order on me for 15 days, where I have to be there that I know is going to turn into 52 years, as soon as I get drug in there by my hair or drug in by my feet, the state of West Virginia is automatically going to start collecting $750 a day off my body being there, correct?
No, the taxpayers pay it. We don't collect anything.
Okay, well, who's that money go to? It goes to your organization, your racketeering business. It goes there.
We don't get any money. We get a budget from the state of West Virginia to cover our expenses here, but nobody pays us anything for our forensic patients here.
So a better way to say it would be all the delegates and senators of the state of West Virginia would be wasting all their local citizens' taxpayers' money to hold me there and torture my body, and the delegates and senators would pay you $750 a day for doing this, correct?
Well, it was that much. But it's not paid. They don't pay us by day. They just give us an annual budget.
You're completely wrong. The things you sent me, you screenshotted all those. It says $750 a day.
That's what the insurance. That's what the insurance gets billed. But then they don't pay anything. It's denied. So we actually receive $0. That is our billing rate per day is $750. But that doesn't mean that's what gets paid. Nothing actually gets paid with that.
That doesn't make sense. If they're taking if they're charging $750 a day, what gets paid?
For example, for a civil patient,
not civil. Let's go forensic. Forensic only. Concentrate on forensic.
Okay, forensic, nothing gets paid.
Nothing. Well, taxpayers are paying it, then the delegates in the Senate are funding it.
Correct. So legislature says, okay, Sharp Hospital, you need $20 million a year to operate. So they give us $20 million a year. And that's not really what it is, but that's
It's more than that. It is more than that. It's like $65 to $100 million a year they are wasting.
Right. And that's what we get. I mean, no, we don't actually send a bill to the legislature. We don't send a bill to any insurance. We don't send a bill to the corrections department. We don't send. I mean, wait, that's what we get. We get our. If you say $60 million a year, we get our $60 million, and that's what we get to operate. We don't bill anybody per day or per patient or anything like that.
So that's $750 a day doesn't. You're being confusing. Either the legislative committee funds $750 a day, or somebody else does. They don't just put it down for nothing and not get paid nothing.
Well, that is our daily billing rate, but nobody pays that. I mean, we're required for insurance laws to bill a daily rate, but
okay, well, how much is West Virginia paying out of this seven? So you have to put down a fake number according to laws. So you put down.
Well, no, it's not a fake number. I mean, we bill $750 a day for every patient, whether they're forensic, whether they're civil, or whatever it is.
And if it's forensic, who pays the $750 a day?
Nobody.
Because the money just doesn't come in?
Right, the money just doesn't come in. Right, yeah, we're not like a private hospital like WVU where they bill and then they get revenue in. Our revenue is a small fraction of our expenses. I mean, we don't make money. We're not a for-profit being the state. Basically, everything we do is just a cost to taxpayers of West Virginia. The legislature has a budget to operate.
Well, since this is so confusing, since you pull up my medical records, how much money did they waste holding me there? Their one medical bill was $568,000, it says at the bottom. How much did taxpayers pay in the state of West Virginia out of $568,000?
Well, it would be whatever our cost. It would be whatever our cost per day is, like our actual cost per day, like what it costs us per patient day for every patient that we have, which is usually somewhere around $600. It's about what our expenses come out to be.
Well, I don't care. So out of the medical bill says $568,000, but you're claiming the legislative committee never paid $568,000?
No, that's what we billed for the stay, but we don't get what the legislature gives us is not based on that. That's just our daily billing rate. That's not what we actually receive.
Okay, well then, can you look at my medical bills and tell how much money the taxpayers wasted holding me there? Can you just tell me how much money legislative and senator people wasted to you? Please figure out the number.
I can't tell that from the billing records because those two things are independent of each other. They don't go together.
So I want to know. I'm trying to show the public how much of a waste it is in reality. How much did they waste holding me there for 3 years?
It would be whatever our cost per day is.
That's $750.
No, that's what we bill. That has nothing to do with that. It's what our actual cost is. Like if we take how many patient days we had in the year divided by our annual expenses, we have a cost, like what our actual cost per day is. So it would be that cost per day times however many days you were here.
All right,
that's what the actual cost to taxpayers would be.
Can you figure that number out with looking at it? If it's 568?
Not from the billing records. It's somewhere around $600 a day. It changes.
It doesn't change very much. It's still, that is not a very big difference. It ain't like it's $10 versus $750.
So it's about $600 a day. So it'd be $600 a day times however many days you were here. That was the actual cost.
So who is a bigger threat to all the people in the state of West Virginia? A judge threatening my body that is going to hurt everybody in the state of West Virginia working to fund this whole thing, $600 a day. Do you consider this judge a threat to the American people where she's threatening me, go to WVU Medicine or go to jail? Is that a threat?
Sounds like it.
Yes, it does sound like it. Thank you for your confirmation on that. What about another judge right now that's threatening my body going in there for 15 days where I don't want to be? So would Medicaid services pay for that one right there for 15 days?
No, Medicaid pays nothing for forensic patients.
Do they check on patients every 15 minutes looking in at their bodies there?
Actually, every 10 minutes.
Every 10 minutes a person's head's sticking in your door. Is that an invasion of privacy?
Well, it's a requirement for a psych facility because if someone's deemed to be here for being being a danger to himself or others, we have to put eyes on them every 10 minutes. They're called 15-minute or 10-minute checks.
What I did the biggest crime in the state of West Virginia. The most serious crime there is in the state of West Virginia is asking for medical records that do not exist to back up all the fraud that me and you are discussing. You know, that's the only crime I did. I went and asked for medical records and they don't even exist. Should it be considered a criminal offense filing a lawsuit in the state of West Virginia? Should that be considered a criminal offense?
No, it shouldn't be.
Okay, well then, I've been arrested.
And the medical records should exist. I mean, you're required by law to keep those for several years.
20 years. It's 20 years.
Yeah.
It's 20 years. Is the state of West Virginia in violation of any kind of federal or state laws if they don't have no medical records to back up all the bills that you sent me? Is that a violation of...
I would think they would be if the
exactly.
medical records don't exist. Yeah.
Exactly. And then the last thing I think I could ask is, so certified Medicaid services right now, if I was captured and drug in by my hair into your facility for a judge, the CMS would be funding that 15 days of invasion of privacy, abuse, torture. CMS would be funding that right there, correct? Or...
No, because you'd be considered a forensic patient. So again, we get nothing from Medicaid or Medicare for forensic patients.
All right, and who else do you can suggest I can call there that will say the same thing, that there is no standardized testing? Or I can ask them, first ask them, what is the standardized testing?
Well, you would need to talk to somebody in clinical, like actually somebody like the director of clinical services or the medical director, something like that.
And that was,
they're the ones who manage all that.
That was 344, that one extension you gave me, right?
I think it was 443. Hold on.
443, all right.
I'm looking again here. Hold on. That was the forensics, because forensics just deal with the judges and the prosecutors. They don't deal with the medical either. Let me see. 443.
All right, 443.
Yeah.
All right, and a judge who cannot be remembering to wear her glasses. Is that a mental hygiene issue where she can't even remember to wear her glasses and she can't read right? Is that a mental issue?
I have no idea.
Do you consider that a mental issue?
No, I have no idea.
All right, I'll call that 443 number.
Okay, but they may already be gone for the day because you're after business hours now. Hey,
and one other question to ask you since you're into the billing. WVU Medicine diagnosed me with dementia. Should you be getting prescribed medication that says that if you have dementia you should not get it? If the FDA has ruled that it is dangerous to give a person with dementia Depakote, should you be forced, should your body be handcuffed to a bed, held down by 10 people, and then nurses running in and shoving needles in your body when the FDA has ruled that you are not to be taking Depakote if you have dementia? Should you be forced on drugs that the FDA...
I'm not a doctor, but I wouldn't think so, but that's fine.
Yeah, you don't have to be a doctor to read where it says, I don't have dementia, and I don't have the shit they diagnosed me with, but yet they're forcing me on medications that say is bad for what they falsely diagnosed you with. Alright, well, it was nice talking to you, but at least you had confirmed about $600 a day is what the taxpayer... And now they're threatening my body with 52 years there.
Okay, well, let's see, that's not... there's no such thing as it doesn't really work that way, but okay.
What do you mean? What do you mean it doesn't work that way? How are you thinking it does not?
Well, we're not... we're a hospital, we're not a prison, so technically somebody is sent here because let's just say, because they're found not competent to stand trial.
Yeah, and what happens is WVU, where do these, who is sentencing these people there? Who does it? Who checks the box? Who checks the box not competent? Or writes the...
Let me finish. Okay, so let's say that you commit a crime that is a 3 to 10 year sentence. You don't come here for 10 years. You're here until our conditions determine that you're no longer a danger to yourself or others.
You were there for 10 years. You are completely wrong. I was sentenced there for 3 years by a WVU representative. A West Virginia University medicine representative sentenced me there.
Right, but if you're determined before that to be no longer a danger to yourself or others, then, I mean, people get released all the time before their actual criminal sentence would be up. It's once you're determined by the doctors and the psychologists and the therapists to no longer be a danger to yourself or others, then they can appeal to the judge.
That is not true. One man was held there for 13 years when I was there. He'd been there for 13 years.
Right. Well, it's possible. Yeah. I mean, there are people that have been here for 20 plus years, but it's because they're still considered to be a danger.
Are these doctors are these doctors like gods? They can predict the futures, and they know everything about a person. I mean,
they're licensed professionals. I mean, as a group. I mean,
who licenses these people? Who? That's a good question. Who licenses them? The West Virginia Board of.
If it's the National Medical Board. I mean, they're all board certified psychiatrists.
But if there's no testing for competency, no testing for anything, do these people feel they're gods? I mean, there's no actual test. Who are they to make a judgment if there's no actual test? All they are is taking away human rights and taking away civil rights, sentencing people there. Back to that question, you thought that doctors did not sentence the people. In your imagination, who is...
No, judges do the sentence, but once the doctors here determine that someone doesn't need to be here because they're no longer there themselves, then, I mean, ultimately the
judges are not making the sentences. You're wrong. Judges are the ones that say, hey, go get a competency evaluation, and the doctors are the ones doing the sentencing by checking a box, not competent, with no standardized testing.
Right, but if you're found not competent, then, right.
Please tell me how you're found. How are you found not competent when there's no actual test that a person takes?
Yeah, I don't know I don't know that. I don't know how this...
Exactly. The judges call up these doctors and say, hey, check a box, not competent, and that's what happens. Because there's no actual test. They can't prove anything that they did to test you. They can't prove a piece of paper showing you passed or failed. And it's good that we had this conversation, and I will show the public, but I'll call that 443.
Okay, thanks, Zach.
Right.
Have a good night.